Hi, how are you? And we're here with the business coaching, and we're going to be doing the astrology. And I've had to wait a little bit because the process that I do is I do the research about the astrology, and then I have to let it sit for a while and muse about it till I'm really clear about what the messages are. And there's quite a lot happening, and if you've read the personal videos, you will see that there's a lot happening. And of course, what's happening to us on a personal level transposes into the workplace. I understand that. But I've worked in a lot of different industries, and I have been not just personally successful in terms of running my own business, but also in terms of corporate, global vice president. You can't knock that, can you? For a big international company, and then also working with Unilever and Microsoft on their global management, facilitation, and coaching team. So I've got a lot to give, but one of the reasons why I left that industry was I got really tired of going into meetings and feeling like, and the training room, and feeling like I'm having exactly the same conversation that I have had time and time out again, and having this reluctance to really get to the essence of what's going on. And also in the training and coaching, most of the time I felt like I was on Groundhog Day, so I'm going through the same questions and the same issues and nothing is progressing. And that's when you realize that change has got to happen internally, and people have got to move themselves into a different way if real change is going to happen. So that's why I went back basically to working with the spirit world. So let's have a look at the astrology, and it did take a while for it to come together for the business. But basically, it is also about change. So we're talking about the new moon is Scorpio. Scorpio, how to think about Scorpio as Phoenix rising. So Scorpio is renewal. It's the end of something and something coming together. The sun now has moved into the constellation New Moon. New Moon is also quite intense because it's being in a strong opposition to Uranus, and Uranus likes to move things up. So what we're looking at here is a great time for new and different takes on things, new and different understandings of things, new and different recycling, if you like, or upcycling or upselling of current or old concepts. So it's like a bit of a rebirth. So we've got the opportunity to take something that we've been musing about and working with, that we feel has lived out its time or it's served its purpose, but we've still got a really strong connection to it and we've got a really good feel for it. So it's a time for us to be reinventing that and recreating that and reshaping that and putting that forward. Now you notice that I didn't say remarketing, so it's not about remarketing something old. It's actually about redesigning at the core level and refocusing and going in and tweaking and changing and moving it into a different direction. Then that might be many things. So that might be a new marketplace, that might be a new demographic, that could be a whole new perspective on what it is that is important about what your service or product is and how we're going to get that out in the market. And so that's what the opportunity is with this new moon. Now, it is a beginning of something that's going to take a while to manifest. So it's not just going to be like bam, bam, bam. This is the opportunity for us to begin a brand new long-term cycle. So we're really investing in the future. So I'm going to ask you to take a bit of time to really take that and think about it before you move it forward. But don't be afraid to move it forward, and don't be afraid to move it forward in incremental steps so that it has some validity. Because remember, change, and a lot of change, is really scary. We really don't like it, and that's fundamentally why we don't do it. So we give a lot of lip service to it, but we don't actually do it. And because to do it doesn't mean just changing externally, it actually means changing the way we go about doing our business. And that's the hardest thing to actually change. The other thing that's going to happen on the 31st is we're going to have the Mercury retrograde. And people often get a bit ooh about Mercury retrograde, and yeah, there are delays and things are going to go wrong. But what's going to be really interesting about these delays is it's all going to be for a purpose. This is not an ad hoc, we're not interested in doing this, so we're just not going to do it. No, this is very strategic. The other thing about Mercury is it's going at 0 degrees, and it's 0 degrees, we've got the moon, we've got conjunct Venus and Jupiter. Venus is about what we value, Jupiter is about abundance and making things grow. And also we've got Saturn in there as well that's being triggered. So what we've got going on here is something quite big, because Jupiter is about abundance and growth. Venus is about abundance and growth, about what we value, what we love. And Saturn is about strategy and planning. So you can see it's really on a path. Now, the 0 degrees is important because the 0 is kind of like we haven't ended and we haven't started. So it's right in that middle of the path. And what that's about is it's going to give you an opportunity, because Mercury is about communication. It's going to give you an opportunity to create and understand the words, because it's really important. This is how we communicate. We do communicate with images, but we also communicate with words. It's going to give you an opportunity to start to understand how you want to describe, how you want to position, and how you want to talk about this new thing that you want to go forward with, because it's really important that everyone understands. And for everyone to understand, you need to be able to articulate that, not just in your own language, but also in the language of the receiver, in such a way that it has value and buy-in, and that value and buy-in is greater than the fear of the change. So that's the other elements that this 4 to 6 week is going to give you a chance to do. And that's actually really so fundamentally important. On the flip side, and the flip side in the workplace, and don't forget, the workplace, we spend a lot of time with people, and not always people of our choosing, so that's why it's often a bit stressed out, a bit difficult. One of the things that's also going to happen with communication is people are going to be making mistakes. But this is also going to be useful, because the mistakes that they're going to make is going to give you a much greater insight into who that person is and what that person is truly thinking. And it's going to give you some insight into some background around this individual and the conversations you've been happening and the positioning that's been taking place. So you're going to get a great deal of understanding. So really start to pay attention to the conversations you're having. And anything that you're getting from another person which is either repetitive or doesn't sit well, doesn't seem to make sense, or is a little bit inconsistent, pay close attention to that, because that's where you need to be thinking about what's going on with this person. So you're going to get a lot of line drawing in your own behavior in terms of relationships with people, and you're going to get a lot of line drawing about, no, I don't want any more from this, I don't want any more from that. The other thing I'm just going to give you at this time, because when people are going through this enormous personal change, and this is also a time for personal change, and we have the opportunity to create a change in the business, I just want you to be thinking about the other aspect of this, and that is there will be some bad behaviors, because when people are under pressure, they behave badly. And one of the behaviors you're going to see is this lack of people taking responsibility for their own behavior. And there's going to be what I'm calling, and I call them energy trolls. They're going to be pushing things that they should be responsible for onto you. So don't let people push their workload or those problems that they have onto you. You need to get a lot better at saying no and drawing this boundary about, this is what I'm accountable for, this is what you're accountable for. I'm willing to help you, but I'm certainly not going to do it for you. So I want you just to be aware of all of that that's coming in. So that's the business astrology. It's a great time, and you will make progressions about something new that you want to do. But the progressions are going to be solid building blocks or solid understanding. It's not necessarily going to see real, strong actualization of this change in the energetic world, but you are going to get a strong sense of that. You're going to have lots of conversations with people, and it's a great conversation with people about the value around what you're planning to do. And if it is something new and is something exciting, it's going to give you that space to find the words to describe it in such a way that it makes concrete sense, not just to you, but to the people that you hope are interested and who you need to have buy-in. The other thing is just be aware of energy trolls who will be out there to dump and move things off their plate onto yours. Okay, that's the astrology. I am going to be coming back with the business coaching tarot in just a moment. Nice to be chatting with you. Forgive me for being a bit late with this because the full moon was yesterday, but we do have 2 weeks to do this. But I think it's more important for me to have the message quite clear rather than me just take up time and space. You've got enough people taking up your time and space. You don't need me to be doing that as well. Okay, bye-bye. Talk soon.